Jai Sriman Narayan. Jai Sriman Narayan. Jai Sriman Narayan. I want to pay my obeisances to my spiritual master, Srimad Jagat Guru Sudarshan Acharyaji Maharaj. I want to pay my obeisances to Lord Sri Ramanuj. I pay my obeisances to Mother Lakshmi. And I pay my obeisances to Lord Sriman Narayan. I want to welcome everyone on the 6th day of Swami Sudarshan Acharyaji Maharaj's Maha Samadhi week. I want to welcome those that are present here at the Sri Narayan Dham, Reservoir Hills, Durban, South Africa. And I want to welcome those that are watching this discourse on live feed from wherever you are. On this note of welcome, I also want to welcome our poultry that arrived this morning, the ducks, and I think now the turkeys have arrived. You all heard the sound, okay? So I have exchanged my human animals for animals. I have exchanged my human animals for animals. You know there are 8.4 million species of life forms. So on this land of 4,000 square meters, I have a stream running, and along the stream we found some crabs. So we have the aquatics. Along the banks of the stream we have trees and creepers. Then we have reptiles and snakes, and on one of our padikramas, a snake just walked past, starting the padikrama. Then I had, in the aquatics, I had Shaki, you'll remember, and I had a few whales. Okay, I had jackals, I had lions, I had elephants. So I had all the species. I had a lot of snakes. I had a whole lot of snakes. So today we welcome poultry, and this is part of my introduction to the Bhagavad Gita, because the Bhagavad Gita talks about all these mentalities in humans. And as I move along, I will unpack the animal tendencies in man, together with animals that I had in my satsang masquerading as men. So this is part of my introduction. But on a more serious note, as a spiritual master and as an Acharya, by definition, an Acharya is an ideal spiritual master who teaches by example. And I think the first example is our love for all living entities. All living entities, and we have all the species on this land. we have most of the species on this land. I have now in total 54 animals on this land. And you will feel the bliss, the peace, and the serenity of all the living entities living side by side. The Sri Narayan Dham is a microcosm of this universe, and it is also a microcosm of Vaikunt itself. As Vasan has informed us, Lord Sriman Narayan made his appearance today. Was it on live feed, Vasan? Could it be seen?
Not too much.
Okay, so Vasan will explain in his commentary what he saw, and maybe you can have a peek. 2 days ago, also Lord Narayan accepted the flame of the Aarti, and that is quite visible. That is quite visible. No dynamics will be able to explain how at one particular point the flame enters Lord Narayan in the circular motion of the Aarti. And I believe he accepted the flame on each round that the Aarti was presented to him. I have not personally seen this. It is not necessary for me to see these different dimensions of Godhead. So going forward with the background of the Bhagavad Gita, today will be the last of the background to the Bhagavad Gita, and I want to start chapter 1 as a birthday present for my spiritual master, Swami Sudarshan Acharyaji Maharaj, tomorrow, the 27th of May 2019. Notwithstanding that, this entire discussion on the Bhagavad Gita is only due to the grace of my Guru. It's only due to the grace of my Guru. But especially tomorrow, I will start chapter 1 of the Bhagavad Gita on his birthday. So I just want to wrap up yesterday's discourse quickly. So Dhritarashtra had 100 sons. His wife was pregnant for 2 years, and while she was pregnant for 2 years, Kunti gave birth to her first son, that is Pandav's wife, gave birth to her first son, and in her jealousy, Kunti banged her stomach. Ganesha, please do not get jealous during this stage and bang your stomach. So Kunti banged her stomach, and a piece of meat as hard as iron came out of her womb. And when she was about to get rid of this piece of meat, Srila Vedavyas appeared before her, and she admitted to him that in a state and a fit of jealousy and rage, she banged her stomach and this ball of meat fell off. So he asked her to get some water, which he sprinkled over the meat, and the meat divided itself into 100 parts. Dr. Singh again. Cloning. This is called cloning, done 5,000 years ago by through mantra. Okay? And Lakshmi, Ramanuj Dasi, I'm giving this discourse through summary and synthesis. This summary and synthesis appeared 5,000 years ago. Scientists are testing it now. Scientists do not have the capacity to test all that exists in this material world. And it is for this reason that I asked Lakshmi to lean more towards philosophy, because through rationalization and summary, philosophy can be synthesized. Science, in its march to prove everything, break down concepts into smaller portions, to show their hierarchy, that each portion is contained within the previous portion. That is science. And whenever science failed in this endeavor, it became a philosophy. The Vedas is an absolute truth. The Vedas is an absolute truth. And as can be seen, that using synthesis and endowed with a powerful mantra, this entire universe exists on frequencies. I think science understands that now, that this entire universe exists on frequencies, and uttering a mantra is a frequency. It has behind it a power, and that power went and divided. That power called the mantra, that invoked a particular frequency in the atmosphere, went and divided that ball of meat into 100 pieces. Perfect and absolute science, because frequency exists today. Frequency existed 5,000 years ago. Knowing how to manipulate the frequency, one has to become surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The real scientist is Lord Narayan. The real scientist is Lord Narayan. He has given all the results already in the Vedas. All the results of science exist already in the Vedas. If a result of an experiment is already given, Dr. Singh and Lakshmi, what do you call a person who will perform that experiment again and again and again and again, when the result of that experiment is already given to you. And Lakshmi is not here. I don't know whether she is writing in her comments, but I'll catch Dr. Singh. A fool. Thank you. Doctor said, if the results of an experiment is already given, and if an entity or an institution or a group of institution experiment for a result that is already given, then that person or institution or group of institutions must be called fools. Is that synthesis? Is that summary? Is that logic? Yes, it's synthesis, because result is already given. We summarize that the result is already given because it's there, and logic will tell you that if something is there already, you don't have to reinvent it. So if you buy a car and take out the wheels, and you want to invent something that will propel your car, how long will it take you to invent, doctor, something like a wheel? Or maybe you can put a ball put a contraption inside so you don't have to turn a steering. You know, the Guru is looking in advance, right? Future cars, you just sit in it, don't turn the steering, alright? Read your mantra, turn right. Read your mantra, turn left. And the wheels will just face in that direction. I think, you think, Doc, that will be an advancement? Yeah, alright? But other than that, just buy an ordinary car with the wheels and drive. It's already there. The result is there. You don't have to invent. So similarly, if you want to know anything, go to a bona fide spiritual master, ask him, he'll open the Vedas and give you the answers. He will give you the answer. Don't experiment unnecessarily. So the perfect scientist is Lord Narayan. He's already given all the answers to every conceivable experiment. He has already given all the answers to every conceivable experiment. So, cloning happened when? 5,000 years ago. Straight to a mantra. Sprinkle water, mantra, and the meat divided itself into 100 parts. Within a month of the meat dividing itself into 100 parts, 100 sons were born. The first son that was born was called Durban, and he brayed like an ass. Donkey, alright? He brayed like a donkey, and when he brayed, all tamasic animals, vultures and jackals around the world started joining him in his brain. B-R-E-Y-I-N-G, brain. So, Dhritarashtra consulted Brahmins and sages and they informed him to immediately detach from this child because he will end the Kuru dynasty. He will end the Kuru dynasty. But as parents, when you have a demonic child, we still try our best, thinking one day this demonic child may change. And Dhritarashtra himself had this paternal feeling, and he did not take the absolute advice of the saints and sages. And I said that also a daughter was born. Also a daughter was born because when Dhritarashtra's wife was witnessing the sprinkling of the water on the 100 parts of the meat, she also had a feeling of having a daughter. And Vedavyas succumbed to her feeling and cut one extra piece of meat, and the last born child was a daughter. So we discussed this yesterday, but I wanted to bring it into its perspective. The 100 sons of Dhritarashtra were Rakshas. Tivashni does not like stories, she likes philosophy, straight. Because she decided to take a nap. Pandu marries Kunti. Pandu marries Kunti, and he also marries Madri, Madri. South Africa, it's a dangerous word to pronounce, Madri. Nandu is smiling. What word are you thinking of when I'm saying Madri? The comedian got his name, almost on this. So Kunti was his first wife and Madri was his second wife. But then we just have to go back to Pandu before he got married. You wanted to say something, Nathan? No. Vona want to say something? She want to add to the story? You think the Guru is doing well? Okay, she thinks the Guru is on point with his rendition of part of the Mahabharata. So, Pandu was a Kshatriya, and Kshatriyas can hunt. Kshatriyas can hunt without a conscience. They are a class of people that's allowed to hunt. And while she was hunting, a male and a female deer was in an act of sexual intercourse, and he killed the male. He shot the male with 5 arrows. And when the deer reprimanded him, he informed the deer that it is the duty of a Kshatriya to hunt without a conscience. And the deer informed him that he is not a real deer, he is a saint, and he did not want to have sexual intercourse in the presence of other saints as a saint, so he was enjoying sex through being a deer. You all want to try that anytime? Somewhere? Just become an animal. So, become a dog. Pranisha, I can just imagine you barking. So, the saint cursed him and said, when you have sex, you will die and your wife will follow you. You will die and your wife will follow you. But I just said that Dhritarashtra's wife was jealous because Kunti gave birth to her first child, and Kunti is the wife of Pandu, and Pandu is still alive and Kunti is still alive. So let's get back to Kunti. Kunti grew up in foster care, and her father asked her to serve saints and sages. And a saint called Durvasa Muni was particularly taken aback by her meticulous service to him, and he gave her a boon that she could summon any Devta, she could summon any Devata if she wanted to have a child. She could summon any Devata if she wanted to have a child. So Pandu got married to 2 wives. But unfortunately, he could not have sex with them. So he asked his wife whether it was possible for her to have sex with someone else to have children. And she refused, and she remembered that the boon that was given to her. And she explained to Pandu that she had this mantra. So Pandu wished for a virtuous son from Dharam Raja. Who is Dharam Raja? Yamraj. Yam, Yaj, and Yudhishthira was born. And then Pandu asked her to read or to call up another demigod, and he wanted a very powerful son. And she called up Vayu, and the second son was born. You know? What's his name? Bhima. Alright? Then Pando requested of her again to have another son, and he wanted that son from Indra, and Arjuna was born. And then he wanted her to use the mantra again and have another child, and she refused. And she stated that she could give the mantra to Madri, who can then have a child. So she gave the mantra to Madri, and the twin physicians through the twin physicians, the Aswinis, she gave birth to two sons. So Madri has two sons, and Kunti has three sons. The five sons of Kunti were fathered by demigods. Demigods are always in sattva, and because demigods are in sattva, they, at the point of conception, their children were in sattvic as well. Dhritarashtra was also a demigod. He was a Gandharva, and his name as a Gandharva was also Dhritarashtra. But because he was conceived, and at the point of conception, his mother blocked her eyes in fright, then his consciousness was more rajasic and tamasic. More rajasic and tamasic, but he also had a portion of sattvic because originally he is a demigod. So I'm bringing the characters in. These are the characters that gave birth to the Bhagavad Gita. These are the characters that gave birth to the Bhagavad Gita. Remember earlier on I stated that when Mother Earth complained to Brahma, and when Lord Brahma complained to Lord Narayan at the ocean of milk, the Swadipa island, which is an outpost at the end of the material universe, then he said, go and take birth as, instruct all the Devis and Devatas to take birth as human, and I will also take birth. Then I brought in the character of the compiler of the Mahabharata together with the Bhagavad Gita, which is embedded in the Mahabharata. And it is very interesting to note, and I want you to make a note of this, that the compiler, Srila Vedavyas, is also the father of the son that had demonic children, and also the father of the son that had divine children. So a common grandfather, and through him one set of children, Rakshas, and one set of children, Devta, and he is also the compiler of the Bhagavad Gita. And I also read earlier on and referenced with Swami Prabhupada that he is an authorized manifestation of Lord Sriman Narayan. And I also stated that the Bhagavad Gita is here to endorse that Lord Narayan is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And I also explained that Lord Narayan and Vishishtadvaita, Lord Sri Ramanuj is all synonymous. Is all synonymous. And I also painstakingly brought references from outside of our Sampradaya to endorse that saints outside the Sampradaya also endorse Vishishtadvaita as the absolute philosophy, and I explained it is a unique way in Sanatan Dharma for saints to give opposing philosophies, for saints to create opposing philosophies, so saints later undo the opposing philosophies they created in establishing Vedanta and Vishishtadvaita as one. In establishing Vedanta and Vishishtadvaita as one. So there have been various saints, they created various institutions. However, the fundamental philosophy is that Lord Narayan is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So now let us look at the birth of Lord Narayan. Because we covered all the characters, we have not covered the birth of Lord Narayan. So now we're going to cover the birth of Lord Sriman Narayan. So in the Vedas, we have to use Vedic injunctions whenever we discuss any matter, and in showing the birth of Lord Sriman Narayan, I once again go for an outside reference. I once again go for a outside reference. Okay? So I am taking the reference from His grace, the divine grace of Swami Prabhupada, through his 10th canto, which he unfortunately was not alive to translate and do commentary on. It was done by his disciples. Commentary on the 10th canto was done by his disciples. So the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 3, text 12. Text 12. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 3, Text 12. And text 12 is translated as follows. O Maharaja Pariksit, descendant of King Bharata, Vasudeva could understand that this child was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayana. Having concluded this without a doubt, he became fearless. Bowing down with folded hands and concentrating his attention, he began to offer praise to the child who illuminated his birthplace by his natural influence. Okay? This Lord Narayan took birth where? Where did Lord Narayan take this birth that I'm describing? In the cells. In the cells. Who's his mother? Devaki. Who's his father? Vasudeva. Lord Narayan took birth from Devaki. Who took birth from Devaki? And who is confirming it? Through the translation of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and the father, Lord Narayan's father, is endorsing the birth of Lord Narayan, who is Vasudeva. Is anyone confused? Devaki is the mother, Lord Narayan, Vasudeva is the father. As soon as this child was born, Vasudeva witnessed the birth of Lord Narayan as his son. That is what this verse is confirming, and he says Vasudeva has no doubt that Lord Narayan is his son. This is Canto 10, Chapter 3, Verse 12. Verse 13, Vasudeva says, My Lord, you are the Supreme Person beyond material existence, and you are the Super Soul. Your form can be perceived by transcendental knowledge, by which you can be understood as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I now understand your position perfectly. Who is saying this? Vasudeva, the father of Lord Narayan. And this is a Vedic injunction translated by Swami Prabhupada, disciples. Swami Prabhupada's disciples. Alright? Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 3, Text 30. And this is a very important text to understand the incarnation of Lord Sri Krishna. This text is very important in understanding the incarnation of Lord Sri Krishna from Lord Narayan. And this is text 30, Canto 10, Chapter 3. O my Lord, you are the all-pervading Supreme Personality of Godhead, and your transcendental four-armed form, holding conch, shell, disc, club, and lotus, is unnatural for this world. I want all of you all to look at the forms of Lord Narayan. Those on the left, you have your own Lord Narayan, and those on the right, you have your own Lord Narayan. I'm going to read again. See if these are on Lord Narayan. O my Lord, you are the all-pervading Supreme Personality of Godhead, and your transcendental four-armed form, holding conch, shell, disc, club, and lotus, is unnatural for this world. Please withdraw this form. Please withdraw this form. And it was at this instruction that Lord Sriman Narayan withdrew his four-handed form and took on the form of a human being still in the transcendental body which gave birth to the incarnation of Lord Sri Krishna. Okay? So, again, for my doctor and scientist, we would like to know how God can take birth, an ordinary birth, and why would God take an ordinary birth, alright? However, we cannot experiment that. We cannot, but we can use synthesis, summary, and verdict injunctions to give us a logical explanation through synthesis. Alright? So let's see what Lord Sri Krishna has to say about his parents. Lord Sri Krishna is now in vogue. After Lord Narayan withdrew his arms, then he becomes Lord Sri Krishna. Alright? The Lord says, the Supreme... Okay. Canto 10, Chapter 3, Text 32. The Supreme Personality of Godhead replied, My dear mother, best of the chaste, in your previous birth, in the Svayambhuva millennium, you were known as Prithni, and Vasudeva, who was the most pious Prajapati, was named Sotapa. Okay? So in the millennium of Svavaya Bhuva, Vasudeva and Devaki were known as Prithni and Sotapa. Alright? Canto 10, Chapter 3, Text 33. Okay. Text 33, and the Lord goes on talking. He says, when both of you were ordered by Lord Brahma to create progeny, you first underwent severe austerities by controlling your senses. Right? Both of them. 34. My dear father and mother, you endured rain, wind, strong sun, scorching heat, and severe cold, suffering all sorts of inconvenience according to different seasons, full stop. By practicing pranayama to control the air within the body through yoga, and by eating only air and dry leaves fallen from trees, you cleansed from your minds all dirty things. In this way, desiring a benediction from me, you worship me with peaceful minds. All of you here, you all want God as your son? Anyone who want God as your son? Pranisha? Just breathe air and eat dried leaves. I got both at the Sri Narayan Dham. Text. Thus you spend 12,000 celestial years performing difficult activities of tapasya in consciousness of me. Text 38. The previous text were two texts combined. This is text 37 and 38 together. O sinless Mother Devaki, after the expiry of 12,000 celestial years, in which you constantly contemplated me within the core of your heart, with great faith, devotion, and austerity, I was very much satisfied with you, since I am the best of all bestowers of benediction. I appeared in the same form to ask you to take from me the benediction you desired. You then expressed your desire to have a son exactly like me. Okay? Are you understanding? After 12,000 celestial years, Amita, how many thousand? And how long are you undergoing austerities and penances? 12,000 seconds. Here we're talking about 12,000 years of undergoing austerities and penances, Pranisha. Eating air and dry leaves, Pranisha, if you want a son to be God. Alright? You thought becoming a vegetarian was austerities and penances. There's another stage beyond that. And another stage beyond that. Okay? There comes a state where you can only live on breath. There comes a stage you can only live on breath. You don't need anything else but breath. How do I know this? Through synthesis. Have we found saints and sages already living on breath only? Yes, there are millions. There are millions. Have science proven that man can live on breath only? No, they don't have capacity. But the Vedas already gave the result that man can live on breath only, and man has lived on breath only. And in fact, Amita, if you want to spend a long time in this universe, you could live quite a few hundred years on breath only. On breath only. And you don't have to go to the Himalayas. The Narayan Dham has enough hills. Has a stream with ducks and turkeys and geese. No sharks, the sharks are gone. And the snakes are gone. Okay, so I think for the purposes of this discourse, at this point in time, and for one to understand that the Lord's birth and why He took birth in the same tomb. This was His third occasion. And I explained earlier on that the Lord comes down with His own people to perform His own leelas, but everything is perfect. Material universe is perfectly synchronized as per one's previous karmas. And through your previous karmas, you fit in every aspect of this universe. And whoever came down with Lord Shri Krishna, in the Mahabharata, everyone had, even Mother Ganga had to come and cleanse off her karma. Even Mother Ganga had to come down to earth, cleanse off her karma and go back. Many great saints and sages that were born in this Mahabharata all had some form or another. They're calling it curse, but I'm calling it karma, so that karma can be easily understood. Alright? So this universe is in perfect synchronization with each of our karma. And even in the Mahabharata, 5,000 years ago, even Mother Ganga had to come down on this earth and cleanse a portion of her curse, which I am calling karma. Alright? Because when you are cursed, when you perform an action, or when you transgress, then even if you are a demigod, you are not free from karma. You are not free from karma. Okay, right from Lord Brahma himself. He himself admits that when he is in Satgun, he praises Lord Narayan. When he is in Rajogun, he praises himself. And when he is in Tamogun, he praises Lord Shiva. So when he is in Satgun, he wrote the 6 Puranas of Lord Narayan. And when he was in Rajogun, he wrote his own Puranas. And when he was in Tamogun, he wrote Puranas depicting Lord Shiva as the Supreme. Alright? So Lord Brahma himself admits, and if he, the most exalted living entity, Lord Brahma, who God entrusts with secondary creation, if he is under the influence of these 3 gunas, then who are you and I? Alright? Then I'm going to sum up. I'm going to sum up and cast in stone, again from outside reference, that Lord Narayan is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Ramanuj, is the absolute spiritual master, is the absolute spiritual master in this Kali Yuga. And all gurus, all spiritual masters have taken whatever they have taken from Lord Sri Ramanuj. All spiritual masters. For he is the absolute spiritual master that gave the purport to the Vedas called Vishishtadvaita. Alright? And I'd like to say that all gurus reside within Lord Sri Ramanuj. All gurus reside within Lord Sri Ramanuj. Whether they agree with him 100% or whether they agree with him 1%. If he is the absolute guru, if he is the absolute guru, then all gurus have to live within him. Do you agree, Pranisha? Anyone disagree with me? And I've done enough cross-referencing to show this, and this is my last cross-referencing to prove this point, okay? So once again, I go to now Srimad Bhagavatam 2nd Canto by His Holiness, His Divine Grace, Swami Prabhupada, who translated and commentated on his own. This was actually translated and commentated on by him himself. Okay. Canto 2, Chapter 5, Text 16. All different types of meditation or mysticism are means for realizing Narayana. All austerities are aimed at achieving Narayana. Culture of transcendental knowledge is for getting a glimpse of Narayana, and ultimately salvation is entering the kingdom of Narayana. Canto 2, Chapter 5, Text 16. Translation and commentary by Swami Prabhupada. Text 17. Inspired by him only, I discover what is already created by him, Narayana, under his vision as the all-pervading Supersoul, and I also am created by him only. And this is a conversation between Brahma and his son, Narad Muni. And this is Brahma speaking. And Brahma is the first created. And the first created will identify the creator. The first created will authentically identify the creator. Synthesis, logic, summary. Doctor, synthesis, you agree through this synthesis that the first created can conclude who the creator is. So who Lord Brahma is saying is the creator? Lord Narayan. For any be a Vedic authority besides the 4 Vedas, that book must be within the parameters of the Vedas. And if it is within the parameters of the Vedas, then it is Vedic authority. And I'm using this Srimad Bhagavatam, these quotes, because these quotes are within the parameters of the Upanishads. And the Upanishads and the Vedanta Sutra and the Purana state that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Lord Sriman, Narayan. Then I went out of my Sampradaya and I'm in another Sampradaya now that's confirming that Lord Sriman Narayan is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, so I'm going to conclude because Pranisha has decided that she wants to have God as the son, and she's asking suggestion to please bring her clothes, where she'll be staying at the Sri Narayan Dham, and she'll be breathing air and having dried leaves as food. I think she's telling her last bye-byes to her husband. Okay, so Srila Jiva Goswami. Srila Jiva Goswami is who? No. He is one of the 6 Goswamis who were disciples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. 500 years ago, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entered the material universe to further the Sankirtana movement, which had already been initiated by Lord Sri Ramanuj. Sankirtana movement was initiated by Lord Sri Ramanuj. To further that movement, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, physically danced in ecstasy and sang in ecstasy, showing devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this attracted, like Lord Sri Ramanuj had 5 main disciples, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had 6 disciples. Okay, these Goswamis wrote up books, and part of the writings of these Goswamis, Swami Prabhupada created his Sampradaya, which is followed by ISKCON. Okay, so he took part of this and parts of other Sampradayas, and he created his teachings through ISKCON. Okay, I'm just using this as a reference to show that even the Goswamis, the disciples of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, okay, acknowledged what I am acknowledging today. And this is confirmed through synthesis. I cannot prove this, I was not there, but Swami Prabhupada is the author, translator of this Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Canto 2, and I'm reading a quote. In fact, I'm reading a quote within a quote, okay? So this is what Swami Prabhupada states. In the material world, I'm reading the purport. I'm reading the purport. Okay, let me read the verse. Canto 2, chapter 9, text 36. Canto 2, chapter 9, text 36. A person who is searching after the supreme absolute truth and personality of Godhead most certainly search for it up to this in all circumstances, in all space and time, and both directly and indirectly. Alright, so this is the verse. Alright, a person who is searching after the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, most certainly search for it up to this in all circumstances, in all space and time, and both directly and indirectly. So this truth was spoken by Lord Sriman Narayan at creation 155 trillion years ago. Then it was re-established by Lord Sri Ramanuja 1,000 years ago. Then it is now been endorsed in 2019, and it was endorsed 500 years ago by disciples of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Can you see the link of Vishishtadvaita? Can you see the stream of Vishishtadvaita? It runs through every saint and sage. It does not matter how much of it you take in, but every saint or sage has to acknowledge Vishishtadvaita because it's the absolute truth. But to teach a portion or a fraction of society at a particular time and a particular place, they deviate from the absolute truth whilst also endorsing the absolute truth to satisfy that place, time and circumstances. But we from the Sri Sampradaya, we do not want to become populist. We want to remain in the absolute truth all the time, and this is why you won't see a whole lot of adverts in the Sri Sampradaya. Because to remain absolute, as you have seen with our former devotees, is very, very difficult. Okay? So I'm going to now read the purport, or one of the paragraphs in the purport, and Swami Prabhupada quotes. I quote Swami Prabhupada as follows: in the material world, which is full of darkness and dangers, combined with birth and death, and full of different anxieties, the only way to get out of great entanglement is to accept loving, transcendental, devotional service to Lord Vasudeva. This is accepted by all classes of philosophers. Alright? That is the quote of Swami Prabhupada. And then Swami Prabhupada quotes Srila Jiva Goswami. Okay, so this quote is now within a quote, and Srila Jiva Goswami states that which is found in 3 Puranas, namely the Padma Purana, the Skanda Purana, and the Linga Purana, and it runs as follows. And this is a quotation now from Srila Jiva Goswami, the disciple of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he is quoting now this is the quote of Srila Goswami, alright? Quotation marks. By scrutinizingly reviewing all the revealed scriptures and judging them again and again, it is now concluded that Lord Narayana is the supreme absolute truth, and thus He alone should be worshipped. And his next quote, the same truth is also indirectly described in the Garuda Purana as follows. Even though one may have gone to the other side of all the Vedas, and even though one is well versed in all the revealed scriptures, if one is not a devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he must be considered the lowest of mankind. These quotes are from Srila Swami Prabhupada, quoting the disciple of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jiva Goswami. All saints have a past, and all sinners have a future. Sinners? Any sinners here? This is the Narayan Dham. No sinners. Only Dhana is happy. Jai Sriman.